Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Doom Patrol, Season 2, Episode 1. So we are finally back with more Doom Patrol. It's been quite a while, we had other shows to get to and stuff, but we're finally back, and I'm excited. I really enjoyed Season 1. It was really funny, great characters. Brendan Fraser was fantastic as Cliff Steele or Robot Man. All of them were really fantastic. A lot of great character work in this series. The characters really shined, all of them having their own issues that they've had to go through, and even getting to see them help each other out through those issues. And we had our villain, played perfectly by the Juilliard alumni, Alan Tudyk. Alan Tudyk is kind of memed a lot because he went to Juilliard, and it's like he's memed because in a lot of these like Disney movies he like plays the animal characters, like he's the toucan in Encanto and he's the chicken in Moana and stuff. Plays birds a lot, it seems. But like he's a professionally and classically trained actor, and you get to see that in stuff like this, even though his role as Mr. Nobody is very goofy and silly and almost Deadpool-like in the amount of fourth wall breaking and shit. It's still a very, very excellently acted role, and he does a phenomenal job at it. You really get to see him shine here. Brendan Fraser is great, even though most of it is just voice work. And all the others as well. Everyone, even Timothy Dalton, who has a smaller role, does a great job. The series, at least season 1 so far, also was very queer positive, which really just is a big thing for me. So I really love that, getting to see the gender fluid sentient street Danny, as well as morally corrupt, the trans drag star who stayed with Danny. It's great representation. Plus, I mean, even one of our main characters is gay as well, and there's an actual really big story line with that in season 1 that has a really satisfying conclusion. That's very bittersweet, but still very satisfying. And I wonder where they're going to take that in the future with season 2 and eventually 3 when I eventually get to that. But yeah, we also had Jane and everyone else, and it's like, yeah, a lot of great stuff. And there's a lot of creativity with this too. There's a lot of really exciting and unique ideas. With DC, they bring in some really weird shit too, because DC can bring in some pretty weird shit. The sentient butts comes to mind, but also the giant kaiju rat and cockroach making out. Because that was one of the biggest what the fuck moments of season 1. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of fun that they have with this series. They don't take it too seriously until they get to the actual character work, because they put forth effort into making these characters feel believable and likable and have a lot of depth to them. I really liked Cliff's storyline throughout season 1 with his daughter and everything, and just kind of the struggle of seeing himself as human still and whatnot. And that wasn't even resolved in the season. We got a little bit of closure, just a tiny bit, but there's still a lot left to be figured out with that. So I'm wondering where that's going to go. And also with Mr. Nobody now being trapped, how is that going to affect things? Because at this point, I guess we don't have a main villain anymore, because he's kind of like trapped in that void, in the white space, I think it was called. So it's like, or blank space or something like that. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious about where this is going to go. Maybe he'll be let out, or maybe he'll escape, or maybe something else will happen. I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities. At this point, it's hard to say. But I'm very, very excited to be back with this, so let's just get into it and hope for the best with our start to season 2. So, also, I should probably mention right before we get into this is a donation reward, obviously, with it being on the Sunday slot, and it is a donation reward for Rips. Ribs? I don't know. I still am not 100% sure on how to pronounce your name, my dude. RIBPS. But yeah, just as a reminder, since it's been a while since season 1, yeah, that's who had donated for this back then. So yeah. Now, let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause the redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, a very tense opening to the season. A lot of drama, a lot of heaviness, but all the weirdness and goofiness and comedic moments that we expect from this show as well. As with season 1, it's going to be hard to talk about each episode just in its full entirety, just because there's so much that happens in these episodes. So I'm just going to go over what I can and what I think I really want to discuss. And just go from there. So following the events of season 1, we have all of our crew except Larry kind of trapped in, well, miniature form. They're all super tiny, and Larry is trying to help figure out a way to restore them, while also kind of taking care of them by making like tiny food and shit, and the world's smallest blunt. And meanwhile, they're just kind of dealing with shit, and not well, because let's be honest, these characters don't deal with shit well. Cliff is like killing rats, and Vic is having like traumatic nightmares and shit. Just all kinds of fun. But Dorothy is now joining the cast, at least for the time being, and she is just the most precious being. She is absolutely adorable and precious, and just really adds this sense of levity in a way to the cast. Like, yeah, there's some humor and stuff with these characters, but generally speaking, they are a very heavy, tense, morose group. A lot of what they go through and a lot of what they happen to handle is very heavy shit. Like, we even see a bunch of flashbacks in this episode and stuff like that where these characters are going through some pretty heavy shit. Like, even the thing with Cliff, it's like, oh, his at the time wife to be, who's pregnant with their daughter and everything, she's like telling him like, fuck your dad, he's got to go, he can't come to the wedding and all. And like Cliff has to deliver that, and then afterwards the dad just ends up being this massive tool, this absolute fuckwaffle. And it's like, my god, yeah, definitely drop him like something that's hot, I don't know. Just, he pisses me off. Like, people like that, because there's an implied misogyny to it as well, with the entire spiel he went on about basically what he said was he was saying that Cliff was whipped by his wife to be. It's like he was basically like saying like you're not even married to her yet and she's already got you around her finger. And it's like, one, fuck you. Like even Cliff's like going like, excuse me, she's having my child. And even he's like, no, that's what? No. Like Cliff can be quite a bit of an asshole, but even he saw that for the bullshittery it was. And we saw like Larry having to deal with like his son's suicide and everything, um, because of just honestly because of him never being a great father to his son, to Gary, which is that entire thing was like, oh, that's really fucking sad. And it's again, Larry probably regrets all of that, just like how the chief regrets everything he had done. But it's like, Jesus, just to know that your son committed suicide and everything because he could never live up to your expectations and shit. And it's like, Jesus. And he did it later in life too. So he probably he could possibly have been dealing with like depression and a lot of shit like that for his entire life because of that. Um and then Rita is spending the episode training. She's actually who's the only one of these who are actually in a pretty good place at the moment. She's starting to get a handle on her powers and everything, and even when it's not working, she keeps a positive attitude, and she keeps like this little even sometimes literally a little pep in her step. She's keeping positive, and Rita's actually kind of like, in a way like Dorothy, kind of a ball of sunshine in this episode amongst all of the angst. And there's a lot of angst. Jane is dealing with a possible revolt of the others in the underground. They're even possibly hinting at maybe trying to take over as the lead personality, which could be a problem depending on who takes over. Yeah, it's just a lot of trouble going on there, especially with Jane kind of retreating because of finding out the truth about Calder and everything about the chief. And we get more of Mark Sheppard, which is always a treat. As I said in season 1, he was fantastic in Supernatural, and he's fantastic here. He's just an all-around great actor. He's really fun. He's enjoyable. And honestly, let's be fair here. His role here is not that different from Crowley in Supernatural, just a little less flamboyant. But we see he and Calder end up making a deal in the end. He helps Calder and the others be restored to their normal size, but at cost. He ends up asking for this pendant around Calder's neck. And I actually had to look this up because I didn't remember if it ever actually said what that pendant was. But I guess it kind of said it in the episode and I just somehow missed it. Apparently it's what gives him his immortality and everything. And there's going to be a lot of stuff I don't remember and everything, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it's apparently what gives him his immortality and everything. And maybe that was in season 1. I just don't remember. It's been a while. So the fact that he did give that up, and the fact that at the end, the candle maker, as I also now know that it's called, because I saw that when I looked it up. I don't know all the details or anything. I don't know the specifics. I just know it is called a candle maker, which doesn't actually reveal anything, so it's not even that big of a spoiler. But the candle maker is talking to Dorothy, and it is like, Dad's dying and everything, and so yeah, that kind of makes a little more sense now that I realize what that pendant was. I guess I just kind of missed that during the reaction, which isn't a surprise. It's me. I miss things sometimes. Um, but yeah, so he is actually dying. I wonder how quick it's going to like last, because different media and stuff have different like effects when it comes to immortality being taken away. Sometimes the effect starts to the person will start aging very very rapidly. Sometimes they just kind of resume their life and they just age normally. It's hard to say. But the fact that the Candlemaker did tell Dorothy Dad's dying makes me think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Unless something else is found, unless something else happens. And Dorothy's flashback in the episode showed us a little of what the Candlemaker can do. Dorothy was in a freak show circus because of her looks at that time, which, by the way, that's really fucked up, and I really feel sorry for her. Like, things like this did happen in real life, as I said in the reaction. There were freak shows that would completely exploit people who had quote unquote weird looks and stuff. Some freak shows exploited people for being left-handed. That is the dumbest fucking thing, and it's like, really? But then, like, for like you know, the classic like bearded lady and stuff, and people with like weird skin conditions, and calling them like fish people or something because their skins they were like scaly and whatever. You get the idea. People were exploited by like carnivals and circuses and stuff like that for a long time. A lot of these freak shows were just absolutely horrible because of that. And it's really fucked up. It's not like in The Greatest Showman where it like tries to paint it as being mutually beneficial, because it wasn't. It really wasn't. It's sad how poorly people like that have been treated. So you instantly just feel bad for her there, and then she does kind of get her revenge though. We see the Candlemaker's power in action. It causes this candle to pop out of her hand. At which point, if she makes a wish and blows the candle out, the Candlemaker makes it happen. I don't know if there's going to be anything more to these abilities, but that's the gist of it at the moment, at least. So her wish ends up clearly being to escape from this situation or something, whatever the exact specifics of, we don't know. But the Candlemaker kills everyone there except Calder. And yeah, it's just, well then. The Candlemaker has some pretty hellish power. Pretty freaky. We see Cliff and Jane continuing their sort of bond in this episode, but also getting snippy at each other just as much as everyone has been. And then there's the rat scene, and it's like this is a thing that happens in real life. Nature is very fucking scary, and there are very much many examples of animals who will cannibalize their own young if they are too weak and stuff like that. It is extremely fucked up. It is really, like, even knowing that it happens is really upsetting sometimes. But the idea of, like, being shrunk to that small size and seeing it happen in that scale, especially in front of you, like, my God, that would scar anyone. Like, I would be traumatized. I'm not like this huge fan of rats necessarily. I think rats are cute, but I'm not like this huge like rat lover. I've always been more into like bunnies and pigs and stuff. But still, it's like seeing something like that would be horrific. Like, my God. I feel really bad for this girl. And then there's Cyborg. Again, Vic is dealing with his traumas and his nightmares and stuff, and at the end, after they turn back to normal size, he just kind of leaves just kind of disappears on them. So I wonder where we're going to go with that. Hard to say at this moment, but it's hard to say about a lot of things. And Danny is still a brick, so that's, I guess, just gonna keep being a thing. It sucks that Danny couldn't get restored as well, but gonna be kind of hard to do that. And I completely forgot who the second person trapped in the painting was. I that was another thing I had to look up. It's the Beard Hunter. I completely forgot about the Beard Hunter even being a thing. And now that I remembered, I'm grossed the fuck out again, remembering just the dude eating the hair out of the drain, and oh my god. I completely forgot he was a thing. Just entirely. So I forgot that he was the other one trapped in the painting. I wonder if him and Mr. Nobody are ever going to be able to escape, or be let out, or whatever have you. But this series continues to just be nonstop insanity and ridiculousness and angst, and it's kind of what we love it for. It's kind of what this series is so great at. It makes these characters believable, likable, understandable, and even hateable at times. It just depends at the moment. Like, you understand what they're going through, and the shit and terrible just things that they've been put through their entire lives. The fact that they are these science experiments, basically. And yeah, it's entirely fucked up. So you definitely understand their angst, but at the same time, sometimes their angst does get annoying to deal with. Because you have to, like, deal with the fact that it's like, oh, these characters are just going to kind of be assholes still. Again, except Rita. And I guess Larry, too. Like, Larry wasn't really bad in this episode, but again, he was kind of, like, babysitting the rest of them in a way. But also dealing with his past mistakes back when he was, before he had to deal with the negative spirit and everything. But yeah, in the current day and everything, like Rita and him and Dorothy are probably the three that are in a much better place emotionally and mentally. Not perfect by any means. They all still have their issues, but they're not as bad as the likes of Jane and Cliff and all of them. Vic. So yeah, this series just really handles these characters well, makes you understand them, and really delivers a lot of great depth. But it also delivers the craziness, the weirdness, the utter insanity that makes this show stand out, even amongst other superhero shows. And I can dig it. I can really, really get behind it. So, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this first episode of Doom Patrol Season 2, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.